Hello, and welcome to First for Driving, online driving lessons. Today's topics, a group of topics really, which comes under the heading of routines. Not always a great fan of too many routines, it depends on the individual learner, but there are certainly two routines that can certainly help at the beginning. One of which has come from the DVSA, the MSM maneuver, mirror signal maneuver, and the other one, which is what it is mentioned by DVSA, but it's a really useful one for getting things right in the early beginnings. So let's move on. So the first one I'm introducing is the mirror signal maneuver, often known as the MSM maneuver. When we looked at a highway code, it talks about rules for signals, under there, and it says signals are used to inform other road users, including pedestrians, and your intended actions. Give signals in plenty of time, having checked it is not misleading. Use them and advise other road users before course of action, and make sure when you cancel them after loose. Signals should not confuse others, and again, articles there. And we're just covering some basic things there, just some basic highway code stuff there. And again, before moving off, you should check your mirrors to make sure the road is clear. Before moving off, you should check your mirrors before the road is clear. Checking blind spots and things like that. Now, the reason for the routine is to get things into the right order, really. The routine is known as mirror signal maneuver. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is to move the car. You are going to move, to drive. But before you actually move the vehicle, and a maneuver, whilst we sort of think of a maneuver as being a reverse around the left or reverse around the right or turn in the road, a maneuver is actually anything that causes the vehicle to change its speed or its direction. So let's take, for example, just simply moving away from the side of the road. Your vehicle will move from the left-hand side of the road out into the middle of the road, into the middle of its lane. So that's a maneuver. It's going to move. Now, before you do that maneuver, that move, there are certain things you need to consider. First thing you might need to consider is, well, would anybody require a signal? Before we consider the signal, we need to check whether there's anybody around. And this is where we make this effective observation. So the first thing you might check is your mirrors. Checking your mirrors to see what's around and make it clear. So, for example, if you were moving out, you would check your center mirror to see what's coming behind you. You would certainly check your right-hand mirror because you're moving towards the right-hand side of the road. And you could check the left-hand mirror. There's a simple thing here. Notice you must check your center, you must check your right mirror, okay? And you could check the other mirrors. Why not must? Well, sometimes it's not necessary. If you are aware of all of your surroundings around your vehicle before you move off, then you would normally know. If there were lots of people to your left-hand side, you might give it a check. There is no hard and fast rule, and these are the sort of things you learn. But by using the routine, each time you actually prompt yourself to think to yourself, mirrors. What mirrors would I use here today? What would be applicable? I'm moving to the right. I'm going to do center. I'm going to do right. But what else could I use? What else could I do? And you need to ask yourself this every single time. Now, at the beginning, it becomes a robotic exercise. You are thinking what mirrors there are okay looking around. You are then considering also, would anybody benefit from the signal? If there is nobody around and you have looked effectively, so you've had a good look, remember the DVSA say these observations must be effective, but if you've had a good look around and there's nobody there, then you are actively choosing not to signal. Lots of people say, mums and dads, particularly when helping learners and helping people to drive, will just signal anyway, because in case there's anybody there. So what they're effectively saying is just put a signal on just in case you haven't looked properly, so they know what is going to happen when you hit them. Yeah, and the object is you need to, now for a driving instructor, a good driving instructor, and an examiner. See, examiners don't often need to see you check your mirrors. They will have done an all-round observation. They've been doing it for years. They can do it almost by looking out the back of their heads, etc. That's kind of good driving instructor. They are fully aware of what's going on. They've seen that you're checking your mirrors. They know whether or not a signal is necessary. If you keep putting on signals habitually, just I'm going to put it on anyway, just in case, alarm bells start to ring, because what starts to happen then is you start to think, have they actually made an effective observation? Okay, they put a signal on and there was nobody there. It didn't matter, but it's possible that they're not checking, they're not looking properly, and they're just, and this is what happens. Drivers get complacent by just putting on a signal regardless. And if they do crash, they're just shouting, you know, well, didn't you see my signal? So it's important to get this routine right. Mirror, effective observations. Is there anybody there? Will anybody require a signal? A signal if necessary. But again, let's have a look at a signal when necessary. If you're pulling away from the side of the road and there is a vehicle coming, are you now about to move off? No. So you wouldn't pop the signal on. You would probably wait until that vehicle is passed, remake your observational checks, and then pop the signal on. If a car was coming or a vehicle was coming from the opposite side of the road, which would not have, you would not affect their speed or their direction, so you wouldn't cause them to slow down or to stop, but you could move off safely, then you might pop a signal on for them to let them know that you are moving away from the side of the road. So you're moving away towards them, just in case they were thinking of moving out or something. So the mirror signal maneuver routine is very, very important. And it's not something that we just do lip service to. Each one requires a thought, a process to it. Mirrors. What mirrors am I checking? What observations am I making? What am I seeing? What am I doing? Will anybody require me to signal to them? Okay, and this is conscious decision. And if you've got that right, you've got it well, you're going to move off, you're going to complete the maneuver quite safely. So it's a very, very important routine. Okay. Moving on a little bit. Sometimes, very often, we change the MSM routine and we expand it. We expand it into the MSPSL, mirror, signal. Then the maneuver bit becomes the position, the speed, and the look. Generally, when driving, the way we do things will generally come in this order. In the mirrors first, the signal, which we've covered in the last session we were doing earlier, but we're going to look now more detail into the position, the speed, and the look, and as to why it goes that way. Okay, and the MSM routine then becomes the mirror, signal, position, speed, look. You've done your mirror, you've done your signal. The next thing you would consider is your positioning. Okay, so where would be your position in the road? Here, maybe a simple move off. So you're going to be thinking, I'm going to go for the middle of my lane. Again, it's an actual conscious act of thinking, where should I be in this situation? If I was turning left, I might think mirror, signal, position, I know I'll go to the left or slightly to the left. If I'm going to the right, I might be thinking to the right. Next thing we often think about then is our speed. And what gear we may need. So we've got our position right. We're now thinking about the speed, whether or not we're accelerating, so we might get a bit faster and we're going up through the gears, or whether we're getting slower because we're approaching a corner or a junction, and we're thinking about coming down from speed and coming down in the gears. Okay. And then last but not least is our look. We're looking up our road or into our junction into what we do. But each time we're considering each one of these things in a routine. The mirrors first Is there anything around? Will anybody benefit from a signal? Do I need a signal? What would be my best way of signaling? My position, where should I be? Speed, my gear I'm considering, and look, where am I looking? I often used to get learners to actually almost recite this in their head, even as they're driving along. Even when they're driving along a straight piece of road with nothing going on, I'm thinking to them, ask yourself, mirrors, check my mirrors, what's behind me? Signal, do I need a signal? Probably not, driving along a straight road. Position, is my position good? Speed, what is the speed limit on this road? Am I doing this speed limit? Look, looking up into the road. And again, coming back and repeating the process. And by ticking these off in your head as you're driving along, you are actually in the moment. You're actually driving at the moment, and you're giving these each one of these a consideration. You won't be driving very long if you were slightly over the speed limit without correcting yourself. You won't be driving very long in a wrong position. You will give some consideration. You won't be driving along with a signal that you haven't cancelled, or a signal that you don't need to make, because you will have actually thought about these things. And it's very often these things that can really help you when you pass the test and keeps you in the moment. Lots of learners fail their driving test because whilst they're in one area doing a driving maneuver, their mind is focusing on a roundabout miles away. They're thinking, oh, I hope I don't go to this roundabout. Oh, if I do this roundabout, and they're not actually in the moment. And what they actually do, the thing that they're worried about most, they actually do fine. They actually cover that great. But they fail on what they're on at the time because, of course, they weren't thinking about it. They were thinking about something else. So that is, altogether, this lot becomes your mirror, signal, position, speed, look routine. Talk to your driving instructor about these. Keep using them, keep practicing them, and you'll get there quite simply. And a very short routine on routines. Okay, that was today's training video. If you like these and you'd like to do some more, then obviously along to that website, firstdriving.co.uk. Okay, if you're not currently having driving lessons and you want driving lessons, that is the number at the top, the 0330 22 33 123, and let's see if we can hook you up with a driving instructor that's going to give you the driving lessons that you'll love, guaranteed. Bye for now.